Here, our objective for today, I can derive the quadratic formula by completing the square. Let's read together. 1, 2, 3. I can derive the quadratic formula by completing the square. So, we already know what quadratic formula is, right? We memorized that. We know the process for completing the square, right? And we did one right now in the warm-up. The word derive means to develop, or to create. Develop or create. Now, you're saying, but we already know it, Mr. Q. I know. You know it by memory, but do you know how to create it? Do you know where it comes from? No, what did I say this year was the year of the why, right? We're going to answer that question. Where does that come from? So, once again, our notes are titled Deriving the Quadratic Formula. So, we don't need a Ferrier model for a quadratic formula because we already know it, right? However, we do need steps for the completing the square because I still see some of you, I sense the disturbance in the force. Some of you still don't know the process. Here it goes again. Write this down. Like I said, we don't need the Ferrier model for that. We do need the steps for completing the square. Write these down, please. Step 1, set the quadratic equation in standard form. Step 2, divide the entire equation by the leading coefficient. Step 3, eliminate the constant. Step 4, add b over 2 squared to each side. Step 5, factor. And step 6, take the square root, write 2 equations, and solve. Like I said, by now you should know these, but write them down so you can have them as reference because you're going to need them for tonight's homework. So, for example, I'm going to put it like this. There's a certain movie called Star Wars, or the movie series, right? And I remember in one of those movies, there was this character called Luke Skywalker, okay? And Luke Skywalker, and pretty much the main idea of those movies is good versus evil, and that good wins. So in that movie, at the end of one movie, Luke Skywalker was in his ship. He had his posse behind him to protect him because he was supposed to shoot a couple missiles into this slot that was going into the power source of of the Death Star, which was the big planet ship of the bad guys. However, behind his posse were the bad guys that were chasing him. And, you know, they're in their ships, and all of a sudden his posse gets shot down, so he's the last one standing, and he still has three ships chasing him, and he's supposed to shoot that down. But before all this, his teacher, he had a teacher that showed him how to use the force. But his teacher died. However, he had taught him the basics and the foundation of everything that it is to be a Jedi, which was to be someone that was specializing at using the force. So here he is in a ship, and so picture him, and the ship's going like that, right? And he's getting close to the range, and all of a sudden he presses the button, and here come down these goggles like that, and they're kind of like the new Google glasses. Have you guys seen them? Research them, you can see them. And if all it is, it's a crystal, and in the crystal you can actually look through it, but in the crystal has all the a computer screen, but it's very small, something like that. And he was trying to target where he was going to shoot, and that those goggles were helping him. Then all of a sudden he heard a voice in the background, "Use the force, Luke." And he's all like, "What?" And all of a sudden he was like, "What?" Because it sounded like his teacher that he was telling me, right? So he's getting closer to the range, and all of a sudden, here he presses the button. He's getting close. Here comes it. Trust your instinct. He's like, what? You know? So every time he brought the, and it was, no, just kidding. He didn't do that many times, but he did it like once or twice. Yeah, he did once or twice, but then at the end, he did trust his instincts. He didn't use those goggles. He made the shot, and, you know, it exploded, and the good people won, right? And that's how this lesson will be. I'm going to ask you to trust your processes. All that you know, you should trust it, because right now I'm going to give you an equation that has almost no numbers, just one or two numbers, and that's it. The rest of it is all variables. But the processes you already know. Okay? So check this out. Pens down, eyes up here. What I'm going to go through right now, it's called deriving the quadratic formula, which is creating the quadratic formula. Even though it might not look like it from the beginning, check this out. Deriving the quadratic formula. That means creating or developing the quadratic formula, right? So check this out. First step is first. I'm going to write a quadratic equation in standard form. Check this out. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals y. So what do you notice? It's no more numbers, right? Okay? So, but you need to trust the process of everything we've learned, specifically completing the square. The first step to completing the square is checking to see it's in standard form and making sure y is what? 0. So is it in standard form? Yes, from highest degree to lowest degree. And then the first step is to change y to 0, so I'm going to do that. This becomes ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Step 1. Step 2. Divide by the leading coefficient. What's my leading coefficient? A. So now we divide everything by A. Like I said, we're no longer with numbers. Now we're using all variables. This is all algebra. So A divided by A, we're left with x squared plus b over ax plus c over a equal 0. From there, step 3. Pay attention, please. For step 3, I'm going to eliminate the constant. And the constant we know is c. So what is c? C over a. So I'm going to eliminate that. C over a minus c over a. And I'm left with x squared plus b over ax equals negative c over a. There's more steps, but I'm going to stop right there so you can copy that, please. Okay? All right. Now that you copy that, pens down really quick. This next step is imperative because the next step is what we call completing the square, right? That's how we're going to complete this piece that's missing. And how do we do that? Pay attention, please. Eyes up here. Step 4. We're going to add b over 2 squared to each side. But this is tricky, though, because this one has a fraction. You guys see that? That according to this equation, b is a fraction. Which means if instead of writing this, watch. Instead of writing a number here, we have what? B over a. But can we have a fraction over a fraction? No. But how can I write it? Check this out. I'm going to write b over a divided by 2 squared. Does that make sense? B over a divided by 2 squared. That's why I write this. I don't write that. I just wrote that so you guys can see that we don't write it like that. So therefore, here I add b over a divided by 2 squared. You're just paying attention. Hold on. You're almost there. I'll let you copy a little bit. And I bring everything else down. Check this out. I'm going to bring the x squared plus b over ax plus, now check this out. Before I write this here, I'm going to simplify the inside. Pay attention, please. Watch. I'm going to do this work, the inside, right here on the side. B over a divided by 2. To divide a fraction, I need to make this into a fraction, and this becomes b over a times, what is the reciprocal? 1 over 2. So let's see, what is b times 1? B. What is a times 2? 2a. So I simplified the inside now. Instead of having all that, now it's what? b over 2a. So this becomes b over 2a squared equals b over 2a squared, and I bring down the minus c over a. Copy that, please. And once again, you don't need to copy this one over here on the side. This is just to clarify that I needed to write it like this. All right, so let's see. Step 1, standard form, yes. Step 2, divide by the leading coefficient, yes. Step 3, eliminate the constant, yes, here it is. Step 4, add b over 2 squared, which is ba divided by 2 squared to each side. But I said I'm going to simplify this over here. Let me zoom in so you guys can see that. So this, I did this, b over a divided by 2 became 2 over 1. b over a times 1/2 because it's a reciprocal, and that gives us b over 2a. That's how we get to this part. This became b over 2a squared to each side. I brought these down right here. I brought the equal, and I brought the negative c over a down to here. So, let me zoom back out. Okay. I said do not copy this because that was just to elaborate on what not to do. Okay. Now, we go to our next step. Our next step is to step number 5. We factor. Remember that? Therefore, square root of the first, x, square root of the last, what do we have left? B over 2a, and it's a plus and all that squared. Are we there so far? Now, before I bring this down, everybody look up, look up, look up. Before I bring this down, I'm going to simplify this one right here. This one. Watch. Since it has an exponent outside, I'm going to distribute that inside to each of these numbers. So this becomes b squared over 4a squared. How did I get all that? What is b to the second power? B squared. What is 2 to the second power? 4. What is 8 to the second power? And I bring down the minus c over a. Copy that, please. Oh. So, once again, recap. Standard form, yes. Divide by the leading coefficient, yes. Eliminate the constant, yes. Add b over 2 squared, yes. And then here, all I did for factoring, I factored this, there it is. But when I brought this down, I simplified it and it became this. Now, the last step, which has 3 steps embedded, here it goes. The last step, step number 6, is to take the square root, then write 2 equations, 2 EQs, and then at the end, solve. Now check this out. Before I do this step, I have 2 fractions on this side, and I just want to simplify it before I move on. Let me zoom in so you guys can see it. You see how we have 2 fractions here? Here, this is where we're at. We're right here, but there's 2 fractions here. You guys see that? Now check this out. In order for me to simplify this and make it 1 fraction, what happens when we have fractions minus or plus fractions? We need to have a common denominator. Do we have a common denominator? Do we have a common denominator? No. This one has 4a squared, and this one has a. So what can I multiply a to make it 4a squared? 4a. What is 4a times a? 4a squared. So whatever I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. Now check this out. Don't copy this yet. Look what I'm going to end up with. What is my common denominator now? 4a squared. And what's left on the numerator? B squared minus 4ac. And I bring down what I already had on the other side, which is x plus b over 2a squared. Copy that step, please. And here, once again, we haven't done the last step, which is square root, two equations, and solve. I wanted to first simplify these fractions. Yes, question. Okay, here we go. So, you see how we added these two fractions, right? That's why we multiply top and bottom by 4a. So, now we're going to do the last step. I just zoomed out so you guys can see it. Our last step is to take the square root, two equations, solve. So, to cancel this squared, I need to do the square root. Square root of this, square root of this. So, this cancels this. We're left with x plus b over 2a equals plus minus. So check this out. Before I simplify the other side, pens down, eyes up here. Watch. I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see it again. Watch. We're here. I took the square root of this, so this cancels that. We're left with x plus b over 2a, right? However, look at this side. Look at the numerator. Do you see that the numerator has a negative? Can I take the square root of a negative? No, what is that called? Imaginary numbers, right? Therefore, I cannot take the square root of the numerator because of this. But you're saying, can I take the square root of b squared? Yes, if it was by itself, but is it by itself right now? What's next to it? The negative number. That's why I can't. However, look at the denominator. Can I take the square root of 4? Yes, what is that? 2. What is the square root of a squared? A. Okay? Therefore, I leave the numerator the same because I cannot take the square root of the numerator. Within the numerator, square root of b squared minus 4ac. Copy that step, please. Okay. So, let me zoom out. So, here he goes. Let's see where we're at. Did we take the square root? Yes. What's left? Two equations. We already have them here. That's why I wrote plus minus. So the last step, I'm going to solve for x. So check this out. I'm going to solve for x. To leave x by itself, I need to get rid of the plus 2, b over 2a. So what do? Subtract b over 2a. Subtract b over 2a. That leaves us with x equals minus b over 2a plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. But that leaves us with two fractions, doesn't it? But do they have the common denominator? So therefore, we end up with a common denominator of 2a. And what's in the numerator? Minus b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac. And this is what we call the quadratic formula. Copy that, please. So, for tonight, your homework for tonight, I left you to derive the quadratic formula 4 times. The same one. So now you're saying, why can I just copy it? It's up to you. But tomorrow's party is going to be like this. I'm going to give you a blank sheet of paper. You're just going to be clear. And I'm going to say, derive the quadratic formula from memory. Go. Okay? So, for tonight's homework, all you have to do is derive the quadratic formula 4 times. So this means that on your paper, you're going to have one paper with 2 on one side, 2 on the other. This is how you can do it. Fold it in half. And you're going to start from the very beginning. You write the first part and see if you can start completing the square. You're probably going to get stuck around here. That's when you look at your notes. Try to do as much as you can without looking at your notes. Then complete it by looking at your notes. Try and memorize it. Flip it over. Do it again on the back side. Try and do as much as you can without looking at your notes. When you get stuck, look at your notes. The third time, do it again on the blank side. Try and do all of it by memory. Hopefully by the third time you already got all the snags out of the way. If not, do it one more time. 4. I'm going to need those 4 for homework. However, if you still feel that you don't have it memorized, then guess what? You have to do some more. Okay? Yeah. Everybody look up, please. This is the homework. Your attention. This Look what I just have in front of me. Deriving the quadratic formula, I write this, all of that, 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 until you come up with a quadratic formula. That's the homework, 4 times by memory. Everybody got it? All right? Pretty good? Have a good one, everyone. Enjoy your homework. See you guys tomorrow.